Good evening. My name is Helene Florio, and I'm the president of the Holyoke Taxpayers Association and the chair of the Government Affairs Committee of the Greater Holyoke Chamber. Together with Jordan Hart, the new executive director of the Greater Holyoke Chamber, I welcome you this evening to the rescheduled 2021 mayoral candidates' opportunity to participate in questions and answers, to give their story, and to allow you, our audience, to become educated voters. It's the collective opinion of our group that the upcoming election may just be the most important one Holyoke voters have faced in a long time. This is the first election with 7 certified mayoral candidates. And whatever the outcome, there will also be significant changes coming in City Hall and to the City Council. Holyoke has been described as a melting pot. The community's population is almost to a 1, made up of people who have come from elsewhere in order to make a better life for themselves. Some of the residents got here a number of years ago, and some of the residents have come more recently. Everyone is here for the same reason, to build a better life. We need a strong city to support us all. Tonight's forum, we're going to ask that everybody turns off their cell phones, and a quick housekeeping message that if anyone needs to use a restroom, it's at the end of the hall and down to the left, and you'll find them right there, and there's people in the front hall to help if you need help. Tonight's forum debate will be strictly looking at the future of Holyoke, and these 7 candidates' individual takes on economic development and their proposed style of municipal management. A strong foundation will allow new management the opportunity to work on all of the issues facing our wonderful city. This evening's schedule and plan has been put together by a team of people who have worked literally for a number of months now. We are asking you, the audience, and the candidates, to be respectful throughout the night. We have a lot of ground to cover and only 2 hours of time. We are happy our 7 candidates have their supporters here with them. Please be respectful and allow our questioners to be heard as well as the candidates' answers. If you interrupt, your candidate will lose time. Tonight's forum didn't come together in a vacuum. I must thank the Holyoke Public Schools, especially Superintendent Anthony Soto, for allowing use of the building, and for Dr. Mahoney, principal of HHN, Brendan Quinn of the custodial staff, and he's really been fantastic, as have the school staff members who have control of the soundboard, the equipment, and everything in use tonight. Scott McPherson of Holyoke Media is providing the setup and is in the booth taping live for Holyoke's Comcast Cable Access Channel 15. Boxcast is also available. MIFA has stepped up and provided the necessary certificate of liability coverage. We're joined tonight by representatives of the Holyoke Fire Department, the Holyoke Police Department, and a lot of other volunteers. This whole event is a volunteer effort provided as a gift to the citizens of Holyoke. Before I introduce the candidates, please let me introduce three of Holyoke's prominent businessmen who will be asking candidates specifically designed questions. The questioners, right down here, are representative of the Holyoke Taxpayers Association and the Greater Holyoke Chamber. Please meet, and if you just stand for a second so people can see you, Harry Montavo. Harry is chair of the chamber and a community development specialist with Bank ESB. Thanks, Harry. Jacob Waugh. Jacob is the developer and owner of Victory Home Healthcare here in Holyoke. Jacob, thank you. And Gurnadur Dawali, did I get it right? Owner of Dino's Restaurant. He's a board member of Holyoke Taxpayers and a member of the planning board. So thank you. We're very proud to have these three gentlemen with us. New tonight, we also have a table of four sitting up front over here who will be developing questions to ask the candidates from the responses that they will have just given to the questions asked in our first two rounds. These four are Carl Eager. Carl, can you just stand up for 2 seconds? Thank you, Carl. He's a board member of HTA, a Holyoke developer, former member of the Board of Aldermen, and he's active on HEDIC. Attorney Eileen Leahy. Eileen is a Holyoke resident. She works for Comcast. She's had experience as a prosecutor. She's been in private practice as an attorney. She's a board member of the chamber and a longstanding volunteer of the city. Eileen, thank you. Nairobi Rosa, longstanding member of the community. We're happy to have you here. Nairobi works at One Holyoke. Thank you. And the spokesperson for the group is Christopher Shagru. He's also of Bank ESB, longstanding commercial banker in this area, and a board member of the Holyoke Taxpayers Association. Thanks, Chris. We also have two people down front working as timekeepers. Lori Belanger, she's the city's procurement officer. Lori, thank you for everything you've done. And Lisa Ray, marketing director of the Holyoke Mall. Lisa, thank you. There are many, many other volunteers who have been involved, and thank you to all. The candidates have drawn numbers for their seating on the stage. Everything else in relationship to tonight's questioning has been arranged in alpha order. I'll introduce the candidates in alpha order, and each will then have 90 seconds to introduce themselves and their story. So in alpha order, but not the way they're seated, we have Gloria Cabero-Raca. Gloria, we're glad to have you here. Josh Garcia, down at the end. William Glidden, known to us more as Billy, but Chris Kaczynski, down next to Josh. Rebecca Lisi. Rebecca. Devin Sheehan. And Michael Sullivan. Kudos to each one of you for putting your name in the ring. It's a hard thing to do, and I appreciate it. We'll start with Gloria. So Gloria, you have 90 seconds, and our timers will give you a 30-second sign before it's time to stop. So Gloria, can you give us your story?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I would like to take just a couple of seconds to acknowledge the indigenous land upon which we are standing tonight. I would like to thank the organizers. I would like to thank my colleagues and the rest of the Holyoke community. I've been here for 21 years. I have raised my children here. I am a mother, a grandmother. I am an activist. I am a researcher, an educator. But above all, I'm struggling to just acknowledge myself and the rest of the community as human beings. I am running because I would like to just emphasize that only through unity, community, cooperation, respect, can we all move forward in this beautiful city of Holyoke that was established many years ago. I would also like to thank my campaign manager and all my friends here and absent, and my ancestors and our common ancestors, so that this campaign together can make us the pioneer in the city of Holyoke as change that needs to be made, not only in Holyoke, but in the state of Massachusetts, and see if we can be proponents for change. Thank you so much.
Joshua.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening, and most certainly thank you to the organizers that put this together. I'm Joshua Garcia, mayoral candidate here in the city of Holyoke, and I want folks to understand that our form of government currently is antiquated. We have a form of government of which where the mayor is the city manager, and the role of manager and the position of mayor is complex. It's not an easy task, which means that anyone who gets elected in there are learning curves. Learning curves are expensive. It can impact our services and the quality of life as we see it. And so with my regional experience as well as my experience in local government, I hope to or look forward to bring back responsible management and good governance at City Hall, so that together we can improve the quality of lives when we talk about economic development, public safety, education, the quality of our infrastructure. Please know that each of these functions, they rely heavily on how well we operate internally. And so that's where my focus is, and I hope that with your support, we can move our city together forward in a much more positive path. So thank you, everybody, and looking forward for a positive and healthy debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. The next in line would be William Glidden.
All right. Thank you so much, Aline. I'm honored to be up here with my fellow candidates. It's great to see so many people turning out, and I'm honestly just beyond grateful for the opportunity to speak to you all and to participate in this process. You know, the city of Holyoke faces important challenges right now. We've come through and are still enduring a very challenging time, and we've learned a lot of lessons about the need to build solidarity, to look out for each other, and to have a vision for the future. And when I'm out there knocking on doors, the thing I hear often from people is that they believe in the city, but they are tired of the political dysfunction that holds us back, that we've lost the ability to listen to each other in constructive ways. We've lost the ability to work together constructively. And in my work, both in City Hall and in New York City, where I was on the front lines of fighting homelessness, I have experience with building consensus, working with people, activating people's power to transform their own lives. And I think that's really what this moment calls for. I think we have everything we need in this city to be a vibrant, densely populated, vibrant, powerful multiracial democracy, but what that will take is a commitment from room one to build that solidarity. And so if you vote for me on September 21st, I promise that I will lead this city with conviction, compassion, honesty, and integrity, because that's what you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy, and Christopher Kaczynski.
Hello, Holyoke. This is my coming out party because nobody's heard of me. Probably haven't even seen me on the campaign trail. But I would like to first take the opportunity to thank the police, the fire department, the teachers, all the people in the city of Holyoke who are working hard with the whole dilemma that we're going through. Then I would like to thank the people who signed my petition so I can be up here and speak to you. Then Miss Lizzie, Miss Roca, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Glidden, Mr. Sheehan, Mr. Sullivan. I'd like to commend all of you for taking the challenge to be running in this election, because this is going to be a big responsibility for anybody who wins. Now, I'm the 5-year-old boy with the white hat departing on the ship to come to America. My father was part of the Polish resistance, and my grandfather was killed in a concentration camp in Germany. But my dad decided, hey, we're going to leave communism, and we decided to go to Holyoke, 757 Dwight Street, Holyoke, Mass. And that's where I ended up, and this is where I became part of the community. There was a few 4-letter words that I learned while I was here. One was work, so I got a paper route. I got a bike. Then the other word that I learned was hard. So I had to work hard to learn the language. So I did that, and I was able to, with the support of the community, go on to further my education. Thank you.
Thank you, and Rebecca Lisi.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming, and for the Greater Holyoke Chamber of Commerce and the Taxpayers Association for hosting tonight's forum. I'm Rebecca Lisi, Holyoke City Councilor at Large. Holyoke is my home. It's where I passed through so many milestones and where I'm raising my family. That's why for the past 14 years, I've led the city with courage, bright ideas, and heart. I led the focus on downtown revitalization that's taking place today. I fought for the schools our children deserve. And I always work to ensure that our public policies are taking into consideration the needs of multiple constituencies, including the most vulnerable in our community, so that the political process is lifting our entire city. Over the years, I've developed a reputation as a city councilor who does their homework and gets things done. I'm an effective leader because I am listening to you. I hear your multiple concerns and perspectives, and I work to find a path forward. I'm running for mayor because I know that Holyoke's strength lies within our collective power. As Holyoke grows and strengthens, it must continue to look and feel like you. That's why I'm asking you all to join me as we build a city of opportunity together. Please vote for me, Rebecca Lisi, for Holyoke's next mayor in the preliminary election on Tuesday, September 21st. For more information about me and my campaign, you can visit votelisi.com. Thank you.
Devin?
First, let me thank the Holyoke Taxpayers, Chamber of Commerce, and other sponsors and supporters for planning this debate. I also want to thank everyone at home and live here in person and my fellow candidates. My name is Devin Sheehan, and I am a candidate for mayor of Holyoke. I was born and raised here in Holyoke, the son of James and Susan Sheehan. I earned a bachelor's degree in political science from Franklin Pierce University and a master's degree in public policy from UMass Dartmouth. I live with my partner, and we are foster parents who just sent our 19-year-old off to his first year of college at Bridgewater State. I currently work in municipal finance for the city of Springfield. In my role, I create budgets, manage funds, work with state and federal grants, manage the procurement process for my department, and is certified by the state as a public purchasing official. I have served as a member of the school committee in Holyoke for 12 years and led the Massachusetts Association of School Committees in 2019. In our community, I have been a member of the Children's Museum Board, am a member of the Holyoke Parade Committee, and served as the group's president in 2019 as well. I am running to be your next mayor so I can address your quality of life issues, to rebuild and restart our economy after COVID-19, to market our city to drive economic development, and to provide support to our hard-working public safety officials. Thank you all again for coming tonight, and I would appreciate your support on September 21st, and I look forward to this robust discussion this evening. Thank you.
And Michael Sullivan.
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, thank you all for being here, and I'd like to say hello also to our TV audience out there. I'm a lifelong resident of Holyoke, grew up right up the street here, Franklin Street, and graduated Holyoke High in '72. After high school, I joined the Air National Guard out in Westfield, did 6 years in the Air Guard, honorably discharged, and off to college. While I was in college, I had an opportunity to start my own business, also right here in Holyoke. And I grew that business from scratch to over $30 million a year in sales with hundreds of employees, almost all local people, with good paying jobs, always good paying jobs. We grew that business, and eventually I transitioned. I graduated from UMass finally in 1999. I'm a believer in lifelong education. Transitioned midlife after that, started into a reclamation business, and we've revitalized several businesses, several buildings downtown, and this has given me a background in the infrastructure needs of Holyoke and what it takes and what we can work together to save, and what we have to remove is blight, and what we can rebuild on for the future. And that's why I'm asking for your vote and your confidence in the future going forward.
Thank you. Thank you all. And now that we have some background information on everybody, we're going to turn to the questioning part, the first 2 rounds of questions. And I'm going to turn this over. Harry Montavo, would you please be the first one to ask a question? And I think your question is to Gloria.
Yes, for Gloria Caraballo Roca.
Caballero.
Caballero Roca, yes.
Gracias.
Okay, the question. A main part of the engine, let me see. A main part of the engine that keeps a city of Holyoke running is the business community. You have experience in the nonprofit sector. How do you see the work of nonprofit supporting economic development in the future of the city?
Muchas gracias por la pregunta. Creo que una de las dificultades aquí es que no tenemos intérpretes para español. Thank you for the question. One of the problems that I see is that we don't have interpretation for the Spanish-speaking population. From my point of view, anything related to economics and economic development cannot stand by the same thing of going as business as usual. We are in the middle of a pandemic. We are in the middle of an existential climate crisis. So business has to be focused on the small-scale, local businesses where we stop incentivizing or giving tax incentive to corporations and just start giving those tax incentives to the small-scale businesses. So let us focus on that, motivate people to just invest in those scale businesses where we can make a difference, where we can stand together in the streets and foster places for relationships and communication with each other, where we meet as human beings and where we can negotiate spaces, adventures together, and find out ways to just reimagine as human beings how we face this climate change catastrophe and the COVID-19. De nada.
The next question, Grunader Dewale to Joshua Garcia.
Hello, Joshua. Question to you. You have been town manager of Blandford for a while. How do you propose to roll that position into building, economic development in Holyoke. What specific are you planning?
I'm sorry, a common what?
Economic development? How are you planning to work same as in Holyoke as we work in Blandford?
No, thank you for the question. And see, we got to understand that whether if you're a large town, small city, large city, small town, we're all confined to the parameters of Mass General Law. And so when we're managing our assets and our resources to support the departments that are doing the important quality of life work, such as economic development, we have to be sure that we have an internal operation infrastructure that is supporting the very activities that are looking to bring in new growth and expand economic development in the city of Holyoke. And so, no different than a lot of the best practices that are being implemented today. I think we have a robust economic development department and other departments that are really leveraging our city's assets and promoting our city in a way that helps bring in new development and growth. And we have seen it. We're seeing it. I think that Holyoke is able to, I don't think we're progressing to the extent that we actually can because of our way that we're managing our resources. Businesses, we want businesses to invest here, but we're not investing in our community and in our businesses. We have crumbling infrastructure taking place. We have public safety issue concerns. And we also have concerns from businesses in enforcement issues, inconsistent enforcement issues. So these are little things that I think we need to work on internally so that we can better leverage those economic development opportunities we all want to see happen in Holyoke. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
And Jacob Waugh, do you have a question for William Glidden?
William Glidden, my question for you is, we recognize that time is money, and economic development is support that provides much of tax collection to support a city. What plans do you have to support economic development to promote taxable business growth in Holyoke?
Sure, thanks for the question, Jacob. It's very important. It's the theme of tonight's debate for a good reason. The city of Holyoke needs economic development. There are competing schools of thought, though, about how best to pursue economic development. There are some who argue that we need revenue right away, no matter what it is, no matter whether it's a landfill in the quarry or you tear down Lynch School and put a strip mall there, because we need the revenue now, or we can pursue development that serves the long-term prosperity and health of the community. So what I would do as mayor is I would double down on what's working in terms of creating an ecosystem of investment. We do that by getting more housing in the pipeline. You have better housing, you attract a stronger workforce. You do smart zoning, you invest in infrastructure, you do job training, you look at the assets that Holyoke uniquely has, which is what's been happening in recent years, and we work with the Department of Planning and Economic Development to develop a marketing strategy to make sure that people know that we have the HG&E and we have low water rates, and we're situated at the center of great institutions of higher learning, and that we're geographically in a good place. Holyoke is worth investment. We are worth, our assets are valuable, and we shouldn't be trading them away in the interest of any short-term benefit that costs us in the long term. So that is the economic vision that I would pursue for the city.
Thank you very much.
Harry, do you have a question now for Christopher Kaczynski?
Yes, the question is, you have filed paper to be part of the candidate group to the mayor for Holyoke, with no statement having been released as what you expect to do within the city. What do you see as the important issues facing Holyoke, and what specific plan do you have to correct them?
All right. Well, just so you know, my background is in marketing, sales, and negotiating. As I sat down, I looked at the structure of Holyoke, and I'm going to put it in terms of a business model. First of all, I set it up, what do we have as goals for the city? And you know what? What do we have? We want to grow and have prosperity. So we're going to want to generate as much capital as we can, and this includes the quality of life. And then that's our goal, but we need a plan. I haven't seen a plan that says what we're going to do. And to bring business in, I think some of the things that we have to concentrate are in education, because, you know, knowledge is power. And the other thing that I noticed in the city of Holyoke that I saw, that 25 years and younger, 30% have not gone to school. Main thing for me is to focus on education. And then, hello? Oh, and the other thing was crime. We got to address that issue, because in order for us to attract people, we're going to have good schools, less crime. We don't have a good reputation out there in the Pioneer Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, let's not interrupt our candidates when they're speaking. Thank you. Tony, do you have a question for Rebecca?
Hi, Rebecca. I have a question for you. You talk about the work you have done while on the city council in regard to smart growth policy you have put forward. Especially explain smart growth and provide us with sample of how you policy are working in city today to enhance economic development.
Thank you. Is this working? Thank you for the question. So smart growth is a zoning overlay that allows for infill development at the urban core. And the idea behind smart growth is that if we can develop the urban core, we're going to be able to make our downtown safer, cleaner, and more pedestrian friendly. In my first term on the City Council, I passed the smart growth policies to help reorient development downtown. And in order to stabilize the building stock, it stabilizes our tax base, and it's bringing new jobs to the city. Again, these policies are responsible for the revitalization that are taking place today. I've been a strong supporter of the cannabis industry because it's a good fit for the manufacturing history of our city and our buildings. It brings in new water and electrical users. It provides living wage jobs with benefits and advancement opportunities for our residents. In addition to cannabis, I'd like to see us expand into pursuing more tech and computing industries that would make use of our green and affordable electricity. Precision machining and home-based entrepreneurs should also look to find a place in downtown. In addition to bringing businesses in, I'd like to work with the building owners to create a business improvement district. This would make our downtown safer, cleaner, and more attractive to pedestrian traffic. A bid helps property owners pool their resources to make a visual impact on our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the seventh one, Tony, do you have a question for Mike?
I think you missed the sixth one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Harry for Devin. I
For
apologize.
Devin Sheehan. Okay. Ready? Okay. You have a great deal of experience in understanding the school department budget for the city. What do you feel should be the focal point of economic development for the city?
So I believe that economic development is a prime spot to help grow our city. As mayor, one of my first steps would actually be to move the economic development office into City Hall rather than the annex, so it can be viewed as a central area where businesses can go to help look for growth and to help get support if they need that, and tie that into an administration that honors and welcomes new growth into our city for economic development. With that, tying in education into the economic development process. I think that we can leverage our schools, both K through 12 and our areas of higher education, for job training to help new businesses grow here within the city and develop in the city. I would also put out a full-scale marketing plan for our city for economic development to attract new businesses, working with the Federal Small Business Association, working with our own HEDIC, working with state and other state and federal economic areas to promote Holyoke with somewhere with low energy rates, to promote Holyoke as somewhere that's rich in natural resources that can attract people and grow people, to make Holyoke the place to be when you want to open a business and the place where you can get through some of the barriers that we put in place. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Tony, do you have a question for Mike Sullivan?
Question for you, Mike. What would you be definition of economic development for City of Holyoke? What component are needed? Can you give example of policy you have promoted through work on the City Council that you will expand on as a mayor?
Okay. So mine is a vision of growth and rebuilding, and we have serious infrastructure problems, and these are the first thing we have to address. We cannot build a new house on a crumbling foundation. We have water mains and sewer lines that are 150 years old. We have to begin the process of replacing this. And it's not a glamorous undertaking, but this is one of the most serious problems we face right now. You can't bring in new businesses, you can't build new houses, you can't do anything unless you have a good infrastructure. And part of that, a key component, is ending the natural gas moratorium. It is crippling the city, and it is crippling business and crippling the residents. We need to expand on our green energy footprint and capitalize on that. Green energy is the future. This is how we'll bring the new businesses to build on this new infrastructure. And we've got to take back control of our schools. And one of the key, not only take back controls from the state, but we've got to revitalize and rebuild the programs at Dean Tech to give that workforce the people it needs, the training it needs, and the good paying jobs that are available out there for the citizens and for the youth and the upcoming citizens of Holyoke. Thank you.
And now we're going to start the second round on these. Jacob, do you have a question for Gloria?
Yes, Gloria Caballero-Roker, my question for you is this. One of the issues we are working with in the Holyoke is unemployment, underemployed, and those who do not work. And workforce development is challenging. How do you plan to address this issue?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the question. Let me remove my mask. I think unemployment could be tied to what we're living today. I insist on the new challenges we're facing, people losing their jobs. But also, why don't we tie unemployment with other social determinants? We've been talking about education, we've been talking about infrastructure. However, I would invest in that human infrastructure that is us human beings. Better schools, better programs for after-school programs, invest and expand the ones that we have, after-school programs, programs for adult education so that parents also get engaged and get involved and also get an education, a liaison with the community and the schools and all the resources that we have in the community so there is more communication and transparency. We need that, not only in English, but also bilingually. We need to engage and invest in us, the human resources, in the community, as well as to engage and make those people who already served their times to make them part of the labor force. Unemployment is nothing new to Holyoke, it's nothing new to the rest of the country or the world. It is something that we really have to be focusing in the middle of a pandemic. I will insist. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry, do you have a question for Joshua, please?
For Joshua.
Yes.
This, okay. With your experience in Blandford, what best practice have you learned and or implemented with the budget that you would bring to Holyoke?
So the Blandford story is a micro level of what is transpiring and what we're seeing in Holyoke. When I first stepped in, we're talking about a community where a tax collector embezzled, got indicted thousands of dollars. There wasn't any trust. There were departments that were divided, barriers everywhere, negative free cash balances, deficits that weren't being closed from one fiscal year to the next. There were, and that was, you can see it out in the community, crumbling infrastructure, roads deteriorating, vendors not being paid, payroll being impacted. So when I look at what's happening in Holyoke, especially with the most recent report from the Department of Revenue to the City Council at the start of the pandemic, there's a lot of red flags. A $2 million deficit we haven't been able to close. There are negative $400,000, $300,000 certified free cash balances. And in a healthy community, we use those resources to invest in those one-time large infrastructure capital purchases so that we don't have to borrow and collect interest, so that we don't have to take money, raise and appropriate through taxation. And so there's a lot of moving parts that are taking place, and the blueprint is there. It's just in a matter of having the leadership to facilitate the necessary process to reorganize internally so that we can establish a much stronger internal control and operations. Thank you.
Tony, do you have a question for Billy Glidden, please?
What experience do you have working in municipal government and municipal finance? What is your experience with budget?
Well, thanks for the question, Tony. It is an important question. And when I worked in City Hall, fresh out of college, I graduated from Williams College, came back to Holyoke and worked at City Hall. I was involved in conversations about the budget and policy. When I worked in New York City, I was involved in a housing nonprofit that worked with private sector and public sector partners to develop housing all across the city that got people off the streets and out of shelters. And I think my management style would be consistent with the way I approach people generally, collaborative, open door policy. I want to find common ground with you. And the city of Holyoke has a strong mayor form of government. It is not simply a management role. We elect the mayor to be the CEO of the city. In any organization, you have other people on your team to facilitate the day-to-day functions in the management, to put numbers in a spreadsheet. All of that is very important, but you elect the mayor to have a positive vision for how all the dots connect and how we can build a strong, prosperous city together. And I think my work, both in Holyoke and in New York City, has demonstrated my ability to see how the dots connect, to see how investments in one part of town can help another part of town, to help us convene all the stakeholders that we need to get our schools back under our control. I think I can do that. I think that's what the city of Holyoke should expect in the mayor and the CEO of the city. It's a vision and not just management.
Jacob, do you have a question, please, for Christopher?
Christopher Kaczynski, my question for you is, what background do you have that you feel you can translate into effective management in Holyoke?
Well, going back to my marketing skills, sales, negotiations, as I mentioned before, a business plan. And I looked through the city's budget. I went through all the departments, and I saw we have to have the departments talking to each other. Some of the things I looked at were we need better communication between all the levels of departments we have there. We got to get together. We have to discuss things. Going back to the business world, we would have meetings. We would discuss all the necessary things that are needed for the city. We would have the, I'm just going to use the DPW, road services, economic people. We're all going to get together and we're going to have ideas of what we can do to help the city. So then we can do a plan, and we're going to have accountability with everybody who is there. We're going to have ideas. We're going to invite the public to come talk to us, do forums. We want input from the city people. We're here as, we want them to tell us what they want us to do. You as business people, you're going to tell me. Thank you.
Harry, do you have a question for Rebecca, please?
For Rebecca Lisi. Okay. My question is, should the city enter in the GIC insurance plan? Would being part of the state network save money and reduce the politics involved in the system in the city?
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. I'm sorry. It's about the GIC system?
The GIC, yes, the Government Insurance Commission. Yeah,
And whether the city...
I can repeat.
I just want to make sure I understand it. So whether the city should be participating in the state GIC? Yes, thank you so much for the question. Yes, I would say I believe that the city should be participating in the state GIC system. It's an insurance system that I think has a higher level of coordination and benefit, because right now there's a lot of different insurance groups throughout the city that have to be coordinated, and with the GIC system, the entire city would be on a single insurance system and have the backing of the state. I think that there's, let me think for a second, sorry. No, I just think that the insurance system is something that is very costly to the community, costly for the city's budget, and if we could rein in the cost by getting involved with the state GI system, then that's a benefit to the city. Thank you.
Tony, do you have a question, please, for Devin Sheehan?
Devin, just be with me. It's a long question. The city council committed to funding the proposal middle school within the city, operating budget by taking out long-term bonds. Give that makeup of the CC will change in November, and the city has recently committed for millions of dollars in new spending. Do you feel confidence the city can reserve the bond for the new school building? If it is determined through bond council that the city cannot reserve bond, what would you propose as solution?
So, yes, the city has been given the opportunity to build one new middle school here within Holyoke. Currently, the city council has not actually bonded for the new middle school, and I understand that there's debt service going onto our bonds at different times. When we purchase something new for the city and we bond for it, it decreases our ability to make a purchase on those bonds. I think that when it comes time for the city council to review if they can bond for this middle school project and to ensure that the finances are there, I think that we elect a government that is elected, and just because an election occurs doesn't mean you don't take up matters. So if it comes up in November or December, that city council needs to address that item. However, I don't think if for some reason we do not have the ability within our bond capacity, then we cannot build a school. I mean, building a new school or other municipal projects or purchases in the city needs to fall within our current debt service and our current city budget. We cannot continue to put more onto the back of taxpayers. We went through that. We went through that in 2019. The taxpayers said, no, we have to respect those wishes, and we have to be able to build and live within our means as a city. Just like we all do as homeowners have to live within our means, we have to live within our means as a city government.
And Jacob, the last question for Michael Sullivan.
Michael Sullivan, my question for you is, one of the issues identified as troublesome in Holyoke is the extended length of time for permitting and getting through current system before certificates of occupancy can be established. How do you plan to pull the city together to get everyone working together and recognizing that time is money and development is crucial for the economy?
Thank you, Jacob. So we've seen over the last several years many substantial projects come before the city. And I don't see it in the certificate of occupancy or what goes on in the various departments. What the problem is with our planning board. We've watched countless times plans come before the board and be continued for hearing after hearing after hearing, sometimes for months, sometimes even dragged out for a year. We need to get, and most of these are mayoral appointments, and we need to find and seek out competent people to fill the seats on these boards, people with specialty knowledges that understand business, that understand development, that understand infrastructure. And that's what will streamline the process. We have to make it easy for business, welcoming for businesses.
Thank you.
Now, this is something that we've never done before, but I hope that it turns out well, like we hope it will. Chris Shagru is going to represent our table of four, and they've been busy over there taking down notes from everything that our candidates have said, and they have a question for each of the candidates, one question apiece. They will do this in alpha order, and each candidate will have 45 seconds to respond. And Chris, if you're not set to do it in alpha, you can do it numerically across the board. This is partly a test to see how well people can think on their feet. So, Chris, you're on.
Well, they're not in alphabetical. Are they sitting in alphabetical order? We gotta put them in alphabetical order. Let's see. First. Okay, so the first question is for Gloria Caballero. How do nonprofits support economic development in the city?
Nonprofits support economic development in the city by creating spaces for the community to just be and live. They support the community through housing, through food distribution, through systems of cohesion in our city. I would love nonprofit and any organization to keep supporting the city by bringing a system where less is better, where consumption is local, where investment is in what we need, where we don't need more. We have been indulging as a community, as a culture, and we've been a throwing away society. That's what I would love to continue seeing, to see more in our community, just to focus on who we are as human beings together and working cooperatively and collaboratively, just finding means to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria.
Joshua Garcia, what public safety issues are important to help bring economic development to Holyoke?
There are a number of public safety concerns happening, and as you go around, and I'm sure everybody here, we hear most of the same concerns. crumbling infrastructure, unsafe buildings, issues around homelessness. I think addiction is a really big one that we really need to get more strategic and organize and try to tackle. We got panhandling issues happening around our city, and these are impacting quality of life concerns and opportunities to grow economic development. And so as leaders, we need to figure out how we can use our immediate resources and try to communicate and organize in a way that helps mitigate these concerns so that we're improving the quality of life for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to reminding everybody, this is 45 seconds on the answer. I'm not sure that everybody got that, so thank you very much. Chris?
William Glidden, what department in the city do you perceive as critical for enhancing economic development?
Thanks, Chris, for the question. Obviously, the Department of Planning and Economic Development is an important piece of that strategy. I also think the next mayor should be thinking about how City Hall should be restructured. A lot of the inefficiencies that have been referred to tonight stem from the fact, and this has been borne out by studies from outside auditors and the state, that we should really be updating our finance departments, that we should be moving toward a CFO system so that the mayor has oversight and can make sure that the financial offices are running more efficiently and effectively. So, two-part answer. Thank you for the question, Chris.
Christopher Kaczynski, you mentioned a lot about education. How would we focus on education in the city?
Education is probably the most important part of a community. We mentioned before that we have to take our schools back. I looked back a little while ago, and the receivership started 10 years ago, and it wasn't, the city didn't tackle it. They went out and got the local government, the federal government involved. They came in and they took over. So I'm not sure how that can be done, but all I know is the city of Holyoke didn't want to tackle the problem. They went to the federal government and said, we want to go to receivership, which isn't a bad thing to do because now we got all the federal money coming in. But anyways, we have a budget of $90 million. Our kids should be getting a good education.
Rebecca Lisi, how are your policies working today to enhance economic development, and also how are they making Holyoke safer?
Thank you for the question. I'll go back to smart growth and infill development is refocusing development down at the urban core. This is bringing more foot traffic into the urban core, more development. Cannabis is a perfect example of this. And we've already talked about cannabis, so I want to shift to the second part of that question, which is making the city safer. And so one of the things that I filed, and I hope that we can work with as a policy, is an independent assessment of the police department, their structure, their policies, and their practices. I think that we all know that the policing is changing, the way that we deal with public safety is changing, and so I think we need to be ready for some pivots in how we deal with community policing. And additionally, I think that we need to invest in our DPW just as much. Thank you.
Devin Sheehan, as school committee member, are you in favor of critical race teaching, and are they already teaching CRT in our system?
I think what our district is teaching and what they've been teaching for years has been a curriculum based on history, based on facts. I think that that's what we're trying to educate our students both through our K-12 curriculum and with our ethnic studies program here at the high school. I think that we use our history books and what happened in history and make sure that we are providing an equitable education and a correct history education and education overall to all of our students. And as we learn and grow. We're teaching students how to have difficult conversations, and we're having staff engage in difficult conversations and critical conversations so we can build a good democracy and have events like this and have an informed citizenry. And that's what I'm proud of that we're teaching in Holyoke. But there's no...
Michael Sullivan, what do you perceive is the best the city has to offer?
Well, Holyoke has a lot to offer. It's always been a great city. But right now, our green energy footprint, with what's going on, everybody's aware with the climate change, global warming. We have an opportunity right now with green energy to be a leader. We're already a tremendous resource in Holyoke Gas and Electric. We've got to use this to capitalize on it, to draw new business into Holyoke. Businesses these days are very aware of it. They want to plug into green energy. They bring good paying jobs. This could be a very dynamic force for the future of Holyoke.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to our 4 people that developed the questions. I think we got some good ones. It worked well. Now it's time for everybody to take a deep breath. I timed it for 1 hour, and we made it at 7:30. We have an hour more to go. I'd like to introduce Jordan Hart and have her come up. She is the Executive Director of the Greater Holyoke Chamber. Jordan has another list of questions that have been developed by the teams that have worked on this over the last few months. If time permits, there are going to be 32 questions asked, 4 to each of the candidates. This is going to be a rapid-fire questioning. Each candidate will have 30 seconds within which to answer the question. Some of the questions may be repeated, some of them may not. So you're asked to listen carefully and be alert. Audience, please join us in being quiet so the candidates will have the best opportunity and will have the best opportunity to hear their answers. Jordan?
Welcome, bienvenido everybody. I'm Jordan Hart, the Greater Holyoke Chamber's Executive Director. So to echo what Helene said, I will be starting off in alphabetical order. So Ms. Gloria Caballero Roca, this question goes for you. How do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need for usage of clean natural gas?
Thank you for the question. Holyoke should become a resilient community. We're just a small, expanding public transportation, focusing on small businesses, investing in just the local, and trying to promote a much more communicative community. We've been throwing away everything. We are not recycling properly. We're not talking to each other. We're not bartering. We're not sharing the lawnmower. So Holyoke can become one of those cities where just by, thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Josh Garcia, this question goes for you. The city is in receipt of ARPA funds and will have the opportunity to work with them for 3 years. How best do you see them being used? Will you support the initial set of decisions proposed by outgoing acting mayor Terry Murphy and carry them forward?
Thank you for the question, and I do have to give credit to the current mayor, the acting mayor, as well as the rest of the administration in doing the best they could under the circumstances. And although I do think that, knowing that we have 3 years to spend, we might have been moving a little too fast, but nevertheless, there are immediate needs we need now, and they're doing the best they can to collaborate and work together to prioritize and how we invest these resources. So yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to hit the ground running from where they left off and do the best we can to be sure that we're implementing these projects timely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Billy Glidden, the next question's for you. The job of the mayor is to manage the city, which includes not only the feel-good issues, but also the issues of development, education, and quality of life issues, among many others. How do you plan to manage it all?
Well, those issues make me feel good too. I don't see a distinction there. I would manage the city by leading with my values and my vision and having a collaborative process that involves the citizens of Holyoke in receiving their input and shaping a vision together. I see all these issues as being interrelated. We can't address one without addressing the rest, and I think I, as the next mayor, will have a strategic vision to tackle all of them.
Thank you. Mr. Chris Kaczynski, this one's for you, sir. How do you envision Holyoke, and what do you want to accomplish in your first 6 months?
Holyoke has a lot to offer. What I'd like to do is get together with all the department heads and to see what issues are most important to them. So we can figure out what's the most critical thing we need for the city of Holyoke. And then after we learn that, we can go out to the public and see what the people think about it, and we can get their opinions also. I believe that we should have a great communication between everybody at City Hall, because we got a lot of talented people here in the city of Holyoke. And if we can utilize everybody's skills, we'll be a very successful city.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Rebecca, much of the Holyoke budget is based off of union negotiations. Which plans do you have to save city money?
So I don't think that I would be going to the union negotiations to save money. For me, the budget is really sort of like the last place where we would want to make cuts, and when we're cutting staff, we're cutting services. So for me, I would be backtracking. I would really believe in more fiscal management and more financial best practices as a way to really manage the money before we get to the budget. I think that's it. Thank you.
This is for you, Devin Sheehan. How do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need for the usage of clean natural gas?
I think first and foremost, we need to have the moratorium lifted on natural gas here in the city, but we need to do things to mitigate that. With the expansion of more electric vehicles and pushing electric vehicles within the city, both in city government and personal use, and having charging stations available, I think we also need to look towards taking our school bus fleet and electrifying it by 2030, have a fully electric school bus fleet to help mitigate that, and work with landlords and building owners to make sure that they're using energy efficient practices for their buildings, so we're not losing heat out of the building, which is then using more of the precious gas that we need.
Thank you, Devin. Mr. Sullivan, how do you see the city of Holyoke being marketed outside of the city?
Well, I'd like to bring my years of business experience to bear there. There's trade magazines out there that we've never advertised in. Magazines like Site Selector magazine. We've got to put out what our assets are, and I'll go back again to our green energy asset. That's huge, and to get it out nationally, even globally, to be able to let the world know what we have here and what is available. And also to capitalize on tourism. We've got the Volleyball Hall of Fame here. It's a tremendous, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Great. Gloria, this goes back to you. What management examples can you share that have led to reduced costs while increasing operational efficiency?
Well, in management examples, ejemplos de cómo correr una ciudad. Well, why not listen to each other? Why not collaborate with each other? Why not ask the population, the community, what we really need, where the resources are needed to be allocated? Why not just be a negotiator? Why not be a problem solver, a troubleshooter? Okay? So that's the way together with the community and by the community we will be able to manage. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Josh, how do you see the city of Holyoke being marketed outside of the city?
So just to reiterate some of the things that we've heard and some of the activities that have already been going on, again, I think the biggest asset we have going for us, not only the culture and the people, but our capacity with gas and electric. We have an incredible natural resource there, of which allows businesses to keep energy costs low. And so if we can somehow, in some way, continue that effort to attract those businesses here because of that, we should keep beating the drum on that. So,
thank you. Billy, this is for you. How do you envision Holyoke and what do you want to accomplish in your first 6 months?
Well, once I get sworn in, I'll have to get right to work on the budget. I'll have to get right to work looking at the allocation of ARPA funds. This is a once-in-a-generation infusion of federal money that could have a transformative impact if we invested in the right neighborhoods. And I would meet with all the department heads and let's start thinking about how to run things better, find out what their needs are. And the way I envision Holyoke in the future is as a densely populated, prosperous, equitable city where we all have a place.
So, Christopher, how do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need for the usage of clean natural gas?
I'm not really that familiar with that aspect. The only way I could do something about that is to get the people who would know the situation better. They would explain it to me, and then we would make a decision on it. But I can't offer a very good, educated response to that right now. So as far as that is concerned, I plead a little ignorance there. But I'm sure with the people that we have in the city, they would educate me, and we would make the correct decision for the city.
Thank you. Rebecca, if ARPA funds are not used to shore up infrastructure projects in the city, how do you plan to pay for needed repairs?
Thank you for that question. I really believe that the priority of the ARPA funds is to invest in infrastructure. When Congressman Neal came to Holyoke, he really emphasized that we should be investing our ARPA funds in legacy projects. We have a very old city here. We have crumbling infrastructure. I think we really do need to use a lot of the ARPA funds, and if not ARPA, the infrastructure bill that's coming down from the federal government can help shore up the sewer, water, gas pipes that are underneath the city. We can't build up unless we get there. Thank you.
Devin, how do you see the city being marketed?
I see the marketing of the city starting right in room 1 in the mayor's office. I'm ready to be a mayor that will go out, that will work with businesses and recruit them to Holyoke, that will sell our city to be the place to open your business, to move your business, and to compete with other communities that are trying to get businesses here. I think it needs to be a #1 priority of the mayor's office and a top priority to ensure that we get new businesses, to grow our tax base so we can reduce our taxes for our residents and commercial properties already here in the city.
Thank you. Mike, if ARPA funds are not used to shore up infrastructure projects in the city, how do you plan to pay for the needed repairs?
Well, in direct answer to that, if we're not able to use ARPA funds, there's only 2 ways you can do it. And neither of them are pleasant and neither of them the way I would head. But the answer to that question is you would either have to bond or you would have to put it through the ratepayers in the form of sewer and water increases, neither of which are palpable to me.
Thank you. Gloria, how do you see the city being marketed outside of the city?
I would like to see a city where, we have all this infrastructure invested in, all this money invested in human infrastructure. I would like to see a city where we, as a community and working together, we can plan on just not throwing away, and I insist, not throwing away. These are not times for big projects. These are times for just focusing on each other as human beings, as collaborators, and these are times for just improving festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Josh, how do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need of usage for natural gas?
Well, I think that in all our planning, our master planning, open space and recreation planning, the revitalization plan, we need to be sure that there's some sort of green infrastructure and climate resiliency twist to it. And so there are a lot of best practices around low impact development policies and whatnot that can be sure to keep that as a top priority as we experience ongoing growth development pressures in our city, so that we're protecting our environment and the quality of our natural resources.
Thank you. Billy, how will you support local businesses with the bidding process on local jobs?
Well, local businesses are crucial to our economic future. They would have a partner in room one where I elected. I'd have an open door policy. I'd meet with anybody with an idea for starting or growing their business. I'd work toward centralizing the permitting office in City Hall, and I would work to develop an online portal to make the permitting process easier. And those are just some of the things I would do. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Billy. Mr. Kaczynski, will you personally take responsibility of the housing stock, empty lots, dilapidated buildings, and work not only with code enforcement, but with realtors, property management agencies, homeowners to take care of and promote what's available in Holyoke?
Good question. When I was traveling through the city and talking to people, they had different ideas as far as housing, because we have so much, Section 8 housing going on here. Somebody made different points of possibly taking homes and selling it to the occupants. So at a good fair market, so now we got the people, it's their home. They're gonna take better care of it. They'll have pride in it. Right now they're just renting and like that. So if we can get the homes into the people's hands, I think things would be a lot better.
Thank you. Rebecca, what do you wish to accomplish in your first 6 months?
Thank you for the question. In my first 6 months, I'm willing to rebuild the team inside City Hall. We have a number of long-standing vacancies in City Hall due to a salary and compensation plan that stagnated over the past 7 years. This year, I really worked hard with department heads to reestablish a COLA-adjusted salary and compensation plan that works to attract talented workers and retain them so that we could get traction on projects in City Hall. I also want to do an audit of properties to make sure that everybody's paying their fair share. There's a lot of properties that have not been updated in terms of their value. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Devin, the city is in receipt of ARPA funds and will have the opportunity to work with them for 3 years. How best do you see them being used? Will you support the initial set of decisions proposed by outgoing acting mayor Terry Murphy and carry them forward?
I think first and foremost that we have a lot of infrastructure projects here in the city that we can use those ARPA funds for. But I also think that we need to ensure that moving forward the process is clear and deliverable to its residents. I think we put through a lot of nonprofits and different groups through this entire process over the past few months, and then it was just debated recently that maybe we won't give as much funding to them and it'll all go to infrastructure. So people put hundreds of hours into presentations and projects that they were disappointed they didn't even have a shake at them. So I think that we have to run an open process for these ARPA funds, but we also have to run a process that builds infrastructure and builds our community.
Thank you, Devin. Mr. Sullivan, how do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need for the usage of clean natural gas?
Well, the best way to reduce the carbon footprint is going to be hydropower. Now, we have the capacity right now to add 2 megawatts of hydropower into our system. 2 megawatts, for those that don't understand, is enough to power somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 houses. You do something like this, and you reduce the cost of energy in Holyoke, you reduce the cost of electricity, and it makes it more affordable for people to install heat pumps, go to newer technology.
Thank you. Gloria, how will you communicate your ideas within City Hall?
My ideas with the City Hall?
Yes.
So first of all, I would collaborate, I would listen to the people who work in the City Hall, people who have been working there for years and know the policies, and I would really like to negotiate just getting into a common ground and participate in all the efforts that they make and do it together so that we together can move the city forward. So that's a way to communicate with the City Hall. I would like to introduce a youth council inside the City Hall. I would love to see a more diverse City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Josh, will you personally take responsibility of the housing stock, empty lots, dilapidated buildings, and work not only with code enforcement, but with realtors, property management agencies, homeowners, to take care of and promote what's currently available in Holyoke?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I think the fact of the matter is here, when we're talking about our quality of life concerns, particularly around unsafe buildings or issues around buildings of which are occupied and illegal activity taking place, if we're going to put Holyoke in a better trajectory forward, we have to be consistent with our enforcement, both public health department as well as our building department. Enforcement has not been consistent, more or less, and so we need to take greater responsibility and achieve some efficiency in that area so that, these issues are not transpiring in our communities.
Thank you, Josh. Billy, how do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need for the usage of clean natural gas?
Yeah, sure. So as mayor, I'd be on the advisory board of the PVTA. I would advocate for more stops. I would advocate for a reduction, if not all-out elimination of fares. We need to be investing in public transportation. We need to use more funding to build up more bike lanes for our streets so that that will also reduce traveling in cars and things of that nature. And I would work with the gas and electric to incentivize the electrification of our buildings and homes. And my mask strap broke, so if anybody has an extra one. For those keeping score at home. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Billy. Nice teamwork up here. All right, Chris. If ARPA funds are not used to shore up infrastructure projects in the city, how do you plan to pay for needed repairs?
Well, we're not going to raise taxes, that's for sure. That's a good question. Could you repeat it again?
Certainly.
Okay.
If ARPA funds are not used to shore up infrastructure projects in the city, how do you plan to pay for the much needed repairs?
Well, we're going to go to the cannabis business. We're going to have people coming in here. I'm hearing that there's a lot of properties being sold. We're going to have to ask the investors in the buildings that are buying the buildings to also take part in the infrastructure going forward.
Thank you. Okay. Rebecca, how do you plan to reduce the carbon footprint in Holyoke while protecting the need for the usage of clean natural gas?
Thank you. So smart growth is a carbon-sensitive framework. It increases pedestrian traffic at the downtown, and pedestrian traffic downtown is going to help reduce the carbon footprint of the city. It's also really good for business. In terms of making sure that we are preserving natural gas access, I am interested in ways that we can build efficiencies in the city. That's a long road. But they can be created through increased efficient appliances and then also building codes. Increasing the urban tree canopy will also help buildings retain their energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Devin, how do you propose to attract new business in the city and plan to reduce the tax rates in Holyoke?
I think, as I've mentioned before, attracting new business is about marketing our city appropriately. It's about going out and showing the good things that Holyoke has to offer, low energy rates, a community that's welcome to business, and breaking down some of the barriers for businesses to make sure they feel welcome. Breaking down our permitting process, streamlining our permitting process, and ensuring the infrastructure is here in the city that will welcome businesses, which in turn will help reduce our tax rate. I mean, we are not going to be able to reduce it without increasing revenues through increasing businesses coming here and partnering with different organizations that will work with businesses such as E4All and the Chamber.
Great. Thank you, Devin. Mike, how will you manage your schedule to maintain an open door policy?
Well, everybody that knows me knows I'm a workhorse, and I'll be working 12-hour days, 60-hour weeks is nothing new to me, and I've always, through all my business experience, had an open door policy. So I hope people can get up early enough to come visit me.
Thank you.
Or stay late enough for that matter.
Thank you. So this is the last question of the evening, and this is the question that all of you have received in advance. So again, we will be starting alphabetically, and I'm going to read the question so that everybody knows what it is, and you can hear it one last time. What are you going to do to make doing business easy in Holyoke? This answer is also your opportunity for a wrap and address issues such as public safety, crime, and issues of quality of life, as well as taking on cleaning our city. So you all know this question in advance, so Ms. Caballero Roca, would you mind starting us off, please?
Yeah. So this, for me, is a very important question. Business, I keep repeating myself, in the middle of a pandemic, in a climate crisis, it cannot be business as usual. We have to instruct our citizenry that consumption is not an option. We are all going through a middle of the climate crisis, and just to invest in us, by investing in us as human beings, keeping it local, small, keeping it collaboratively, talking to each other, using the public transportation, bringing here all micro colleges from all the colleges that we have around so that people don't have to walk to go to college, and bring Holyoke Community College to downtown. All that is important. It is also important to just pay attention to the need that together we stand divided, we're going to fall. This is not business as usual. This is a new shift in paradigm. We have to start reimagining who we are going to be and how we're going to be living in society. And this, in my administration, is not going to be the winners take all. This has to be a representative democracy, multiracial, plurilingual, multi-everything representational, so that we as a community stand together and move forward for what is to come, which is a huge climate change. So this is what I am planning to do. Small is better. Invest in us, in community, invest in our spirituality, in regenerative jobs. Let us the earth regenerate. Thank you. Let us the earth regenerate. Let us regenerate as human beings. Let us invest in education. Let us invest in home care. And let us invest in the arts. Let's see that theater open, the MIFA theater open. Let us establish, educational hubs and community centers. And let us establish also pairing community centers so that we all, as a society, pull together to just come together as a community. The best asset this community has is us. Thank you.
Beautiful, Gloria. Josh, when you're ready.
You want to just repeat the question?
Sure.
So that everybody knows.
Yep. So Josh, in these last 2 minutes, would you mind addressing a wrap-up on what you're going to do to make doing business easy in Holyoke? And what are you going to do to address issues such as public safety, which includes crime, as well as the quality of life issues that we face in Holyoke, as well as cleaning the city?
Thank you. And so a lot of what I explained at the very beginning of all this, every election time that comes around, we hear the same rhetoric. And I think that no one here in this room or up here tonight disagrees with the ideas that bring in economic development or that improve public safety, or even, no one disagrees with the idea of having good quality schools. The way that we're managing currently, in my opinion, is a path to receivership. And so once we lose local control, forget about all the good ideas and best practices we all want to implement to improve the quality of life we all care about. We need to start with the basics, and that's responsible management. I heard tonight that that's not at all a priority at the moment, that instead vision is. I think we flirted with that with the last 10 years, and it's our responsibility as a community to come together and make sure we're right-sizing the ship so that we're improving the very things that our departments are working on on all our behalf, so that we're being responsible stewards of the taxpayer resources that each of you contribute to the city of Holyoke. So I'm up here tonight, standing in front of you, running for mayor, letting you know we have to focus on the basics, and that's our internal house first, and that's how we're gonna improve, make our city more business friendly. That's how we're gonna get local control of our schools again. That's how we're gonna right-size the ship here in the city of Holyoke and provide the quality of services that everyone deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And Billy, when you're ready, if you'd like me to repeat.
Yes, repeat it, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Billy, these last 2 minutes, would you please address how you are going to make doing business in Holyoke easier, and how are you going to address issues such as public safety, crime, the overall quality of life, and taking on cleaning our city?
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you again to the taxpayers and the chamber and all of you and my fellow candidates up here. I'm very honored to be here. I would work very hard to make it easier to do business in the city. I would have an open door policy with anybody that wants to invest in the city, serve our long-term prosperity and the long-term health of the city. You'll have a partner in the mayor's office. I will work to restructure City Hall to work more effectively and efficiently. I'll work toward a centralized permitting office. As I mentioned, I will work to build an online portal to make it easy to walk through the permitting process. And all these issues, as I've mentioned, are interrelated. If we work with the people of Holyoke, we work with our police department, the fire department, we can ensure public safety. These things are vitally important to the future of our city. And I would just say that when I've been out there door knocking, talking to folks, it's been an honor of a lifetime to hear people's dreams and visions for the city and to see the sense of optimism that people still feel. However one feels about the previous administration, nobody can deny that a lot of very positive things have started to happen in this city. People are working hard. There are homegrown movements for change. There are people starting businesses. There are people graduating from the E4All program, concentrating wealth, particularly among Latina members of our community. There's a lot that we can build on here if we have the vision to work together, to see each other again, to build a government that can truly accompany the people of Holyoke and see the people of Holyoke. We're not on a path to receivership. There's no evidence of that. There's simply not. What we're on a path toward is a vibrant, densely populated, multiracial democracy that we can all be proud of, that our forebears have handed down to us to do with this moment what we will, to build a just and generous Holyoke. If I'm elected mayor, you will have a partner in room 1. I encourage you to please vote for me. It would be the honor of a lifetime. And check out gliddenformayor.com for more information about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. Mr. Kaczynski, same question for you. In these last 2 minutes, would you mind addressing to the population how you're going to make doing business easy in Holyoke? And could you please address issues that target crime, public safety, quality of life?
We're always talking about how are we going to attract people to the city of Holyoke. Okay, the most important thing for people is their quality of life. Okay, that's what it's all about. We got a good home. We're secure. Quality of life. I'm going to bring it back to education. Let's educate the kids. Kindergarten, 12th grade. We got to do something to motivate our kids to go to school. The more we educate our kids, the better we will be off, because they're going to be the future leaders of this community we live in. So we were talking about schools. One of my things is we got to empower the teachers. They got to teach our kids. And as far as going with education is, Our structures are there to teach our kids. Our kids go to school to learn, okay? And it's going to be our responsibility, and we're going to have to be accountable for the children, the teachers, the kids, the parents. If there's issues, we got to handle it, and we're going to take care of it. By doing that, we will get a better quality of life. Then the other thing we got to really work on is crime. Why would anybody want to come to the city of Holyoke? And I hear it all the time. Chris, I'm not happy to go there and walk on the streets. You know, there's too much violence. I go, well, we got to get that perception out of there. That's why I'm hoping that if I'm there, we're going to get groups together and we're going to talk and we're going to see, like I mentioned before, we're going to talk and see what we need to do, because our quality of life depends on education and getting rid of crime, at least reducing the crime. And the other thing is we're a multicultural society. And we have a very large Hispanic community that could really step up. I envision almost a little Havana in South Holyoke. We can bring people there. We can have, I have a vision, if I can.
Thank you. Rebecca, in your last 2 minutes, would you mind addressing how you will make doing business in Holyoke easier, as well as addressing issues such as quality of life, public safety, crime, and cleaning up the city, please?
Thank you. Doing business in Holyoke should be easy. We need to develop a pro-opportunity permitting environment that sets out clear and predictable expectations for what businesses need to do in order to obtain permits and open their doors to the public. In the past, I've supported the move to reduce the number of special permits that are granted by the City Council. Many of these permits require technical assistance and expertise that the council, as a body of lay representatives, does not always possess. Universal and objective criteria for passage would facilitate the permitting process. To maintain our quality of life in the city, we must ensure that all essential services, police, fire, DPW, codes, and inspections are all adequately funded so that our streets are clean, safe, and pedestrian friendly. Doing an assessment of our city departments, like the one that I have called for the police department, would help us identify the best ways to structure and manage our city services. With an assessment, we can make sure that taxpayers are getting the return on investment that they deserve. The police department assessment in particular would also help us understand if we are investing in adequate and appropriate trainings to deal proactively with the particular issues of crime that we face in the city. I'm interested in pursuing a business improvement district. A bid would help property owners pool their resources towards marketing and beautification efforts that would have enough scale and scope to make a visual impact on our community. These efforts would help showcase Holyoke's authentic sense of place. Finally, our quality of life can be enhanced by developing a culture of civic volunteerism. When neighbors are participating alongside one another in community events and activities, we can celebrate our city's rich cultural diversity, and we bring an attractive dynamism to our city that will help recenter Holyoke as a hub of economic and cultural activity for the region. I'm Rebecca Lisi. Join me, and together we can build a city of opportunity.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. Devin, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm okay. I've heard it
Okay.
a lot so far.
Wonderful. Floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, for hosting tonight and coming out to listen. I hope you learned a lot about all of us running for mayor. We owe it to our business owners and residents to have a reliable, accurate, and responsive city government. We can do this by streamlining some of our permitting process, appointing individuals to various city boards and commissions that are ready to work with businesses and residents rather than put up unnecessary roadblocks. Economic development and bringing in new business to our city is key to lowering our tax rate. Under my leadership, I will work closely with HEDIC, state economic development partners, and marketing professionals to promote Holyoke as ready for business. Holyoke businesses do not need a bid. We don't need additional money going towards beautifying the city when we're taxing our businesses enough and they're not getting the services that they need every day. With the City Council and Law Department, we need to review all our ordinances that are currently have and provide code enforcement to ensure that they are being followed. Our city passes rules often to address quality of life concerns, but we do very little to follow up with them. I am committed to working with our police and fire departments to ensure that they have the budgets they need to keep our citizens safe and themselves. I will work with our community to ensure long-term sustainable city beautification. Keeping our city clean is not just about a citywide cleanup once a year. It's about working with residents and businesses to ensure that their area is being maintained. It is about holding accountable property owners that purchase a piece of property in our city but never step foot in Holyoke. You have had the opportunity to hear from the candidates for mayor this evening. I believe I have shown you that I have the skills and qualifications to lead our great city. Early voting runs the 13th to the 17th from 8:30 to 4:30 at City Hall, and Election Day is the 21st. I humbly ask for your support to be our next mayor of the city of Holyoke. Thank you.
Thanks, Devin. And Mike, when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. We've already touched on a couple of the key elements for making businesses successful in Holyoke: infrastructure, green energy. The one thing we haven't touched on, I haven't heard any other candidate touch on, is the fact that we have the highest commercial tax rate in the Commonwealth. Of all 357 cities and towns, we have the highest rate. That has to come down. That's the main obstacle for businesses coming to Holyoke right now. I would propose to do that through a full data survey of our existing base. We've already enjoyed significant growth thanks to the cannabis industry. We have some negatives with the Holyoke Mall that will go down in value, but overall, I think this would be a very small investment through our city assessor's office. It would take about 6 months, and I think the end result would be an overall reduction in our commercial tax rate. Second to that, it's the appearance of the city that's detrimental to business, crime, litter, trash, all over the place. And a lot of this is coming from poor capital planning. We need new vehicles. None have been bought. There's no planning. They're constantly breaking down. We have good people in the DPW, but when the vehicles are broken down, they can't be out there doing their job. We're bringing in outside help to do it, costing the city more money. We have to do a better job of capital planning. These are the basics that will allow businesses to thrive in our inner city, in the downtown area.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank you all for participating in this evening's debate, and I wish you all the best of luck on your candidacy. At this point, I'd like to turn the mic back over to Helene Florio. So thank you, muchas gracias, y que tengan buenas noches.
Well, what an interesting evening. I think the one thing we've proved tonight is that we have 7 very interesting candidates for mayor for the good city of Holyoke. As we leave, I want to first of all thank all of the candidates for participating. Thank all of you for coming. And now to you, the audience, please be sure that that you do get out and vote. You get to the polls or do your ballots ahead of time. September 21st, 2021 is coming up on us quite quickly. The outcome will be the final 2 candidates for the ballot in November on the 2nd. Holyoke's future is in your hands. Thank you all for coming, and drive safely.